It is that time, the very beginning of the next month. One of my favorite times doing web videos on YouTube because it is about the latest WebBot report summary. For all my new subscribers, if you don't know what the WebBot report is, ask in the comment section. Someone will tell you what it is, but essentially it is a software program that a man named Cliff High developed in 1997. It has a better than chance accuracy at predicting certain things, which means it can't be pure chance. So that's why I really enjoy seeing it. A lot of things have happened that this thing said to look out for in the future. One of the things, Bitcoin movements price-wise, is insane. If you have any other questions, somebody will answer it in the comment section. I'm skipping around as I usually do. This is a summary. If you want to buy the full, I think 37 or 38 page report, it is $15 at halfpasthuman.com. That is Cliff High's website. I get a report every month. Have to. It's just fascinating. Anyway, so here's the summary. Name of this thing, he says, watch this space. And he shows a picture of Antarctica. And as you know, Antarctica has been in the previous WebBot reports recently. Quite a bit, and believe it or not, it's in here again some more, but I have not taken the liberty to cover a bunch of what it talked about in Antarctica. Nothing like crazy amazing as far as I was concerned that I really needed to push into this review or this summary for Antarctica. The previous WebBot report, it's talked at length about Antarctica. And funny enough, somebody sent me an email the other day. Hey, check this out. Lockheed Martin is hiring subcontractors to do some kind of work in Antarctica? What would Lockheed Martin, for goodness sakes, Lockheed Martin be doing in Antarctica for the government? They're just scientific expeditions to measure snowfall and ice core sample. Or is there highly advanced technology there from a previous civilization that the WebBot has been saying there is? Anyways, forecasts are for March 2017 through 2047. Metadata. Please note that we are showing a schism within the data that is being reflected in the takeover of the deep state by the winning faction. This takeover includes the above-ground expression of that victory, which is the Trump administration. This is a redefinition of the officialdom phrase long used in these reports. There are still elements of officialdom, as it has been previously defined by globalist agenda, in place within governments in the Western republics. There is also a new and rising officialdom definition as the Trump administration and the winning faction of the deep state move to consolidate their power. The convention adopted to reflect this condition in these reports will be to preface officialdom with the word new in parentheses to differentiate from the globalist officialdom. I don't think I even have to use that word in the part of the summary that I've collected out of the WebBot report, so who cares? The change captured allowed for the tuning of the lexicon that has increased the near-term success rates. The capturing of the language change allowed for the increased accuracy within Bitcoin projections. The capturing of the change in language has produced the forecast for the Trump victory. The shift in language of last year was a leading edge of a manifestation of change that our data sets are forecasting to be ongoing for at least the next 50 years. The larger patterns within the language have linguistic structure suggesting that the level and intensity of change over these next 5 decades will be beyond anything we will be able to imagine now. Now, if I may interject for a second, look how fast technology has grown, has advanced. From even the late 1800s to early 1900s, we're flying. Then we have jet engine propulsion, rocket ships, rockets propulsion, And as you may know now, I'm sure many of you understand, we absolutely have anti-gravity type of vehicles you might refer to as UFOs. Speaking of Lockheed Martin, remember Ben Rich, the head of the Skunk Works highly secretive division, mentioned at one point when he was retiring something along the lines, we have the technology to take ET home, but it'll take an act of God to get it released to the public. Maybe that act of God is Donald Trump. So now let's go to the year 2000 and where we are today, 2017. Portable phones that are essentially computers. Email, driving your car, GPS systems, tell you where to turn. We have cars now, Tesla and some others, will drive you automatically. I mean, really? So is it any surprise to know that in the next 50 years, it's going to be an even faster, more incredible, or incredible new technology coming to a planet near you soon? Not surprised if that he's even saying that, right? Yet more signs of rampaging climate change are forecast as coming along to upend the last of the warmists, the global warmist people, claims. These sets are suggesting that shocking incidents with ice and snow in spring in the northern hemisphere are to be part of a large reconsideration of the global warming claims by some very powerful social influencers. These social influencers are being described as blockages that will be removed in the logic of the climate change into ice age. These sets have global warmists coming under attack at several levels. Perhaps the most shocking is forecast to include physical attacks on famous warmist faces in public and caught on media. These sets are showing that young people will be outraged at the lies sold to them as accurate climate projections and will react badly over this year as they encounter famous lying faces out and about in public. The data has physical assaults taking place at restaurants and speeches. We also have indications that flying food will be involved. The data sets have the warmist paradigm being swept into the dustbin of history by mid-2018. These sets also bring in continuing growth for revealing of the Ice Age, or I might say mini Ice Age, because he has referred to it in the past too as well as a mini Ice Age, not necessarily a giant, full-blown, oh my God, Ice Age, like the ones that froze the woolly mammoths in place while they're in the middle of eating a snack in the afternoon. And then, again, for new people, I understand it just said mid-2018. I've been around a long time with these web art reports. Sometimes the timing can be way off. Sometimes it could be just a little bit off. Sometimes it's spot on. Just an FYI. Excuse me. Matter of fact, let me pause this for 1 second. There we go. Don't want to really clear my throat loudly in your ear. Thank you very much. Noting the continuing rain in California and indeed along all of the west coast of North America, it is not surprising to see so many references to inland seas showing up. We must note that the datasets have a big earthquake series ahead for North America over 2017 and through into 2020. That is indicated to cause a bowl into which will pour rivers that then become an inland sea. FYI, that term inland sea, talking about in America, has absolutely been in some previous web reports to look out for. So here it is again saying, hey, it may be finally time to start talking about this. Mind you, the atmospheric rivers keyword that was in the Webbot reports way in advance to where it's been used now the last 2 months heavily in California, way before that those events over there even happened. So here's another one, inland sea. Get ready to hear that word at some point. I'm not sure how, again, between 2017 and 2020, I'm sure we're going to forget if this happens 2 or 3 years from now. But nonetheless, just keep that in mind. The Webbot has been right on a bunch of this kind of stuff. These sets would seem to be suggesting by the number of geographic references to an area that is more or less central USA, that shades over to the southeast USA, that the bowl will be created in USA. However, geographic references can be misleading in our work as there are European place names as well, and we also need to note that many of the names involved show up in hundreds of counties across the USA. Further sets that do seem to be more specifically California focused are being supported by flooding over roads buildings awash on lower floors, and urban centers with boats floating over roadways. Many of these sets are describing urban and suburban areas along the Central Valley being flooded, with many homes and buildings suffering devastation. The data sets have imagery of large numbers of small boats that are active across the waters. The depressing part of this set is magnified as the boats are going to be necessary for months. Now that's interesting. Other areas of planetary changes are indicated to be also forcing political changes, as the breakdown of the legacy corporation media narrative begins to shred over the middle of 2017. At this point, the data sets are suggesting that the political narratives are going to crumble over late Northern Hemisphere. These sets are pointing to layers of complex lies that will be burnt off and or shredded in minutes with the presentation of evidence. The evidence is described within the data sets as compelling and visual and accepted. Yet more disruptions are indicated to be affecting the population of the Northern Hemisphere as nuclear worries begin to escalate. These worries are going to be increasing over 2017 with a number of strange incidents involving radioactive materials. Some of these episodes will incite major governmental responses, themselves indicated to cause public alarm and mass panic and chaotic evacuations that will all be mysteriously canceled. The data has helicopters filled with men in radiation suits, as well as fleets of trucks filled with soldiers and police who will be rushing into a small town and basically scaring the hell out of everyone for hundreds of miles as they insist on rapid evacuations. This will spread across the internet like a grass fire in a drought. Mass panic ensues, much discussion only to lead to what was that? What happened? No real answers to anything. Lots of mess, some small damage, and people let back in a few days later with no radioactive traces even showing. Other episodes are also showing as leaving scars on the landscape and causing national panic. The data suggests that some of the explanations will lead to UFO as the cause for the sensors reacting. Global Gold Rush is another title here. Within the many areas of the global pop entity, there are numerous sets for Gold Rush. Let me remind you, just recently with the Orville Dam situation that carved out massive land over there, and news stories popping up left and right about this huge gold rush in the area because new gold's been exposed and they want people to go over there. You know, some of the people who live that way, and there's a guy who does tours of or something over there is saying, you know, this is like crazy how much gold's now coming out. It's easier to find or whatever. The news station said, in all honesty, we only panned a couple of pans and we found some gold right away, which is odd because we never have done that before. And the webbot said in advance to look for that before the Orville Dam thing happened. And sure enough, it was in the news articles, headlines. So within the many areas of the global pop entity, there are numerous sets for Gold Rush. At first, the temptation is to report on these within the individual subsets based on geographic locations, but the sheer number of the instance sets makes this too damn time-consuming. The data has Gold Rush from the cracked and tilted subdivisions of California to the beaches of Mexico and to the hills of Central Europe and to the caves of Africa and to the rivers of South America. This area is highlighted as the data sets are so voluminously filled with references to gold and the many ways that humans will be attempting to obtain it. These sets are new to this processing, but are continuations of the meme first seen in 2015. The growth pattern suggests that we are not yet close to the full manifestation of the Gold Rush language, though it looks as though 2017 is where we get our what he'll call a good start. Subtitle for another section here, Pop War Shattered. The border countries within Europop, or EU Pop, are indicated to be in the big squeeze over most of the rest of 2017 as USA deep state officialdom continues to attempt to put Russia into a box of their creation. The other part of the squeeze will come from the mass migration or invasion over spring and summer. The data sets have 2017 as the year of the invasion of Europe. These sets would suggest that more men are going to try to move in, settle, conquer Europe this year than in all the last 10 years combined. What he's referring to here is the mass immigration, the refugee nonsense happening in Europe. That's what he's referring to. Other impacts on pop war include the action against the funding sources such that personalities are sent hiding and conduits dry up. This phase of pop war, which, by the way, did you just not hear recently this Asian-looking dude who helped fund illegally Hillary Clinton and them or something? He's now in hiding, fear of his life. That's interesting. And keep in mind, this webbot didn't just grab the news the last 2 days before he released the webbot report. He's already interpreting data he's already gathered weeks ago. So that is a new story, and I don't think that this webbot report picked that up at the last second and he threw it in here. No chance of that. So this phase of pop war is indicated to begin over June with announcements that will be coincident with very large economic shifts within many of the countries affected. These economic shifts are likely laws and policies that will be interdicting money used in pop war. The data has the interdicting money of money sets supporting by nationwide raids by law enforcement and arrests and incarceration. I'm assuming that people like, George Soros and these little groups that fund people to go protest and cause ruckus at these town halls, they're not even there for any real reason. They're just being paid to do it, that kind of stuff. They find out who's behind it and they arrest them. That's what I get from this. Some of the supporting, and by the way, please tell me it's George Soros. Some of the supporting sets for the incarceration sets are cross-linked back over to USA Pop, where there will apparently be some simultaneous cooperative raids. These are all indicated to be fueling the national debates over the rest of 2017. A striking amount of the new data sets for Pop War also have either directly held supporting sets for gold buying or have cross-links over to the gold sets in either Global Pop or Markets entities. These sets are all referencing an emotion-driven buying wave that will seemingly burst into flames in several EU countries, then move rapidly to first the UK Pop, then over to USA Pop. Note that there are many strong supporting sets for gold and Women's Uprising in Ireland Pop. These sets are also now in supporting positions for the Gold Prices Rise sets within Markets entity. The gold buying wave sets are primarily centered on Europe. However, the second largest geographic reference is for London. These sets have detail sets that are forecasting a bank robbery that will be attempted by invading migrants. The robbery is indicated to fail in a spectacular fashion. The detail sets have the attempted robbery being a spotlight on gold. That's interesting. The data forecasts that a run to the bank to buy gold will commence the very next day. Coincidental, but linked somehow within the data sets. The rush to buy gold in the Northern European states shows as the catalyst for UK Pop to get emotionally involved with gold. This is forecast as leading to a number of very interesting days of on-the-street interviews with people queuing up, essentially in lines, to buy gold. Global Pop encounters with gold and stumbling over gold and locating gold by accident of nature and locating gold by accident of man, and many other such sets are gaining broad support for instances of found gold that will be popping up over the rest of 2017 with something of a crescendo across late September through October. The encounters with gold sets are quite intriguing as they suggest that divers will encounter gold, as in scuba divers, and apparently more than can be lifted by two men, and all in a single spot, which is to say in some cave underwater. This cave is not described as though it is associated with the ocean. Rather, we have language for more of an industrial dive. In this set, we have a twist occurring as the divers will take photos and video and cause a sensation when they put it online. But when they return with assistance, all the gold is gone, and then this causes yet more internet furor, much of it into seriously deep woo-woo stuff. That's going to be interesting should that manifest. Australia pop. What? Can I just say something? Every time I see Australia pop, my mind says, just say this. Put another shrimp on the bobby. I can't help it, and I'm sorry. And I was refraining, and I just started reading. I said, nope, I got to at least just mention it. Australia pop. Put another shrimp on the bobby. What is up with Australia pop? Yet more data sets for yet more political bribery scandals are showing up as frying careers and opening jails. This last seems to be a hint that there were amnesty irregularities that are going to surface in Australia pop media before the end of July. These corruption scandal sets are gaining new supporting descriptors that include hidden property purchases and bribes from government officials. Bribes from government officials? Oh, quick look, surprised. Datasets now accruing are suggesting that in spite of the crumbling confidence in the government, the Australia pop dollar will be rising against both the US dollar and the renminbi, Chinese dollar. These sets are suggesting that this is part of a larger trend to be impacting USA dollar over the last half of the year. The ramifications for Australia pop are suggested to be good, though the rising value of the Australian dollar is indicated to bring grief to both the local housing market and importers of Commonwealth goods. Italy pop, as has been forecast for so long, the Italian banking system is still being presented as the linchpin that causes the derivatives to fall into the crevasse. The data as Northern Italy Bank, once headed by a climber who made famous a local climbing area, maybe even named the same, as being the breaking point. These sets have the Italian banking system being so distressed in such a rapid fashion that they race to government for relief. Problems showing in the data is that the government will have no funds and be incapable of inducing loans from Germany. This last is indicated to be due to the tight connections between the Italian bank and Deutsche Bank. While a seeming inducement to loan money to failing Italian bank, the picture becomes muddied as the scale of the derivatives monster is discovered. The Italian banking system hidden liability subsets are also supporting sets for lira and return of sovereignty. So Italy, we're coming back to our own currency, our own sovereign nation, get rid of the EU. But, keyword, Italian banking system hidden liability, meaning, as what I've always told you a million times, cook the books, accounting gimmicks, take that off the books, don't show it when we need to, put it back on the books when no one's looking. USA Pop. The USA Pop has a set growing. The USA Pop set has a growing number of long-term or longer-term sets for earthquake and earthquake damage that is indicated to begin, yes, just begin in 2017. These damage sets are filling with yet more flooding and river changes course language. Again, we have more language for downriver nuclear power plants that will have major problems with cooling flows. These sets for the earthquake damage are also within sets for the railroads that will be derailed and bridges being blocked. There are new sets for more gold panning and gold finding and gold prospecting and gold theft for 2017 all across the subsets for USA Pop. Many of these are still showing up as tied to disasters that will expose the potential. Many of these sets are dominated by California and Nevada geographic references. The chaos language that grows grows over March and April, then dampens down over May, is indicated to begin with a markets problem. These sets are showing that the initial problem within the electronic markets in March will precipitate political dueling. It is the dueling that is showing up as being the chaos fuel over the rest of these months, though we need to note that the originating problem will also be continuing as the markets based in USA Pop are forecast as going pustule and showing signs of infection. And pustule, by the way, is like a pussing pimple kind of a thing. These sets are further forecasting on the impacts of the banksters' tactics that will be showing up within the population. These sets are indicating that underhanded tactics will be used within the political battles over March that are forecast to be within a secrets revealed burst over April. Yet again, these sets are presenting further that the USA Pop will be entering a period of chaos. Many of the sets for the chaos previously forecast to be appearing from March through May are supported by the new sets for government breakdown. Many of these sets include citizen actions, such as has been previously discussed in Alta reports or Webot reports, with such as the old age pensioners riot/mob action in government offices. Other sets include sit-in demonstrations and occupations of government offices by geriatric patients and families. We have new sets within this period for the battlefield to be shifting within the financial wars as the speed of currencies in crisis goes into acceleration over the period of political upheaval previously forecast from March through to June. These political upheaval sets are also supported by economic dirty tricks that are forecast to be launched by several of the corporations against the population. These economic dirty tricks are showing as including slowdowns and deliberate disruptions in financial services. You ever hear this one? Glitch today stopped the ATMs from Barclays from working for 4 hours. That kind of stuff. These tactics are indicated to participate within the financial chaos of these months, and further, these sets are showing as initiating a blowback into the financial system that is forecast to favor the triumvirate of Bitcoin, silver, and gold. The data sets have a dirty trick being exposed in a really appealing manner by new voices that is going to go viral. It will be the reaction to the viral video by the originating corporation perpetrators that shows as being the kickoff of the global investigation and backlash against many of these multinational corporations. This is where the chaos language begins to wrap up the USA pop political infrastructure, as the corporations which had supported pedophilia and sexualization of children are indicated to clamor for new officialdom to protect them from the impacts of backlash and attacks by victims. These data sets are showing as bringing up crying families as their employees plead for help for their employing corporation. The real problem for everyone concerned is going to be the inexcusable nature of their crimes. Much confusion within these sets, as the data shows the whole of USA Pop struggling to come to grips with themselves as victims of evil mind control efforts by corporations on behalf of a global pedophilia network. Excuse me. Yet more sets are continuing to accrue to the housing market within the USA Pop that indicate banks dumping and interbank credit problems. These bank credit problems are going to be the proximate cause for housing being dumped on the market and discounted as credit freeze sweeps throughout the regional banks. There are large increases in the data sets for housing market problems sets. Hang on one second. All right. These increases are now bringing in more immediacy data than shorter-term data, and more shorter-term data than longer-term data. The ratios are suggesting that we are closer to the manifestation of the housing price crash and the casual credit freeze between banks, period. These sets appear in larger numbers as model space is moved through July and into August. There are initial areas of growth in mid-May, but the main fill pattern becomes established later in midsummer. Markets entity. The dollar woes are showing as growing over the chaotic crisis period that is indicated to form up storm-like over March and then rain down the crises over April and May. These sets are indicating that these set up for hyperinflation forecast for summer northern hemisphere, and later in this year emerges from the derivatives burn in the background of the currency's crisis. Noting that the dollar woes are going to escalate over 2017, the data is also showing lots of incredulity as the dollar rises relative to the other currencies, which are also all showing up as being in crisis. The incredulity sets are also supporting both the Bitcoin price and precious metals prices over 2017. These sets for incredulity appear first during the escalating political and currencies crisis of March and grow steadily throughout April and then burst out in May. The silver reaction to the currencies crisis shows up as the manipulation is described as slips from their grasp. They get another grip on it, but their base is now much higher and slippery, which requires lots more energy to maintain, such that they keep losing control thereafter in little bursts. So it's like the price is going to rise, metals, silver, and then they cap it, they bring it down a little bit, and they hold it there, and then up another burst higher. The club tries to maintain that, stop it, it comes down just a hair, or it just stays where it's at, and then goes higher. So each stepping stone higher. That's what this is suggesting. The continued growth of the currency's crisis set has the price of Bitcoin setting new all-time highs frequently throughout 2017. The data sets have the reductions in price as part of Bitcoin's consolidation pattern being reduced as we go forward. This may well mean that our expected $500 USD drop price will be far less. The data has the pattern of Bitcoin prices being less deep and less wide on each new iteration through at least to September of this year. Prices will still be escalating rapidly in all paper currencies for Bitcoin. Many of the pop war sets are also extensively tied to gold via crosslinks. These crosslinks bring up supporting sets that are forecasting that a swelling of the demand and usage of gold and silver as money will be occurring across Europe due to the pop wars and the disruptions of the larger European economy. Other subsets of the interest rate rise have new descriptors, including commercial real estate and valuations and renege and default. These new aspect sets supporting these sets are all tied via crosslinks over to the set for deflation. The deflation set is dominated by commercial real estate, but also has many supporting sets for residential real estate, where it is also defined as a money cash or cachet and not a home. These sets have intersections that are forecasting a curious joining of a downtrend in commercial real estate across the Western nations to personal wealth protection in real estate. The new data is suggesting that one is going to contaminate the other, such that valuations reductions are going to spread as though a virulent disease. The data for Bitcoin is closely tied in its growth patterns to the currency's problems that are described as globally affecting populations. These sets have Bitcoin being kicked upward in currency prices, as the sovereign currencies are showing as falling against each other and against gold and silver. The most dramatic raise in price for Bitcoin shows as developing over March and progressing through the chaos of the following months. It must be noted that the data sets have a very active emotional impact some rise as model space is moved across 2017. This active emotional impact sum rise in affecting, the active emotional impact sum rise is affecting many areas of the markets entity. As had been seen and discussed in previous WebBot reports, the markets entity continues growth sets for rising dollar, even as Bitcoin, gold, and silver are also rising. The confluence continues for at least 2017 and into the first quarter of 2018. The dollar rise sets are now showing that the unleashing of USA Pop low-level economic activities will be increasing speed of circulating currency in USA Pop, and that this will foster an emotional draw or attraction to the US dollar for the rest of this year over other currencies. This is the final one. As model space is moved forward in 2017 and during the chaos period of March through May, the data accrues for Bitcoin to become more costly than gold. As this transition takes place, the data sets have it being a temporal marker for many other sets, including silver and precious technologies from Antarctica. These sets have a strange occurrence developing as nations and central banks begin to buy Bitcoin. These sets are providing the propellant for the rush through $1,448 on its way to $2,300. That's the price of Bitcoin. These new data sets have the chaos period of these next few months as being pivotal for both Bitcoin and silver. These sets are arguing for the secret hyperinflation to be creeping out. As a temporal marker, these sets are going to the idea that silver will be the shining light as the move into hyperinflation shows in the public consciousness. These sets have silver rising faster in US dollars than either gold or Bitcoin. However, this is merely speaking to the rate of increase and not its price during that rise. And again, there was more stuff about Antarctica. The first part of this report spent a considerable amount of time talking about the earth change events, earthquake stuff, volcanic stuff. A lot of that was more than I would say normally in any Webbot report I may have ever read. There was just a considerable amount of that stuff at the very beginning of the report. I read through it, but I'm like, again, I got to cover that stuff. I need to cover the markets. I need to cover the USA Pop, some of the other entities. I got to spread. This is a summary, so I got to spread the different sections. I could have spent 30 minutes reading just the earth change stuff. So again, if you want this report, it's $15. Cliff High sells it, halfpasthuman.com. I've been getting these things for years, and I sit back and watch a lot of what it talks about happen. Now, when I talked about that Bitcoin stuff, you need to pay attention because the Webbot is on fire with its price movements and timing of Bitcoin. Just an FYI. You may want to grab some of them there Bitcoins if you don't have any. That's it. Take care.